Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Chairman Block, members of the committee. My name is Melissa San Miguel, and I'm with the National Center for Youth Law. Many of the issues discussed today are directly connected to foster youth and the experiences they have in school. Nearly a fifth of our students in foster care have special education needs, and foster youth have high rates of suspension and expulsion. Students in foster care need targeted education supports like the Foster Youth Services Program to help them succeed academically, which can support these school climate improvement efforts and the work of special education professionals for foster youth. Right now, the definition of who is a foster youth and qualifies for services from the state's FYS program is not aligned with the definition of foster youth that the legislature and the governor included in LCFF. And this means that nearly 2/3 of youth are ineligible for the FYS program, mainly children who are living with relatives. Aligning these definitions and providing additional resources to the program is necessary for the implementation of LCFF for foster youth, so there's no confusion about whom should receive services, and so the promise of LCFF is realized. And I have with me some youth who are from San Diego, Orange County, who will be speaking on this issue.
And Senator Allen will take over now. We'll be doing the timing and calling on new speakers. So you're next.
Hello, my name is Kenya Whitman from San Diego, representing Foster Club. And I'm asking that policy be created that would require foster youth services to adopt the broader definition of foster youth that is already in LCFF. As well, we ask FYS be supported with more funding for the youth for the youth that cannot access these services. I myself spent my whole life in care. Without education, I would not be where I'm at today. Because of my school's stability in the FYS program at Elk Grove Unified and my mentors in high school, I've been able to earn a bachelor's degree, and I am currently in the third year of my PhD program. However, I am the 1% to graduate from college and pursue an advanced degree. It would be remiss to assume that only children who are in traditional homes or group homes are the only ones who need support. We are all removed from our biological homes, and it's a traumatic experience, whether in relative care or in foster care. To that end, we both also need support for our transition into adulthood. I want to underscore the importance to align FYS to LCFF and provide more educational services in K through 12 to support their transition to adulthood. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Alicia Washington. I'm from Riverside, California, and I'd like to briefly share my experience throughout foster care. I like the support from social workers and educational programs because my case was with a relative caregiver. I was expected that my guardian had access to all the necessary tools, of course, to provide an educational, successful future. My caregiver at the time, she had her GED, and it was assumed, of course, that she would be able to assist in education opportunities. But of course, that wasn't the case, and that becomes the case for many caregivers that currently have foster children. It would have been tremendous to have educational supportive services as I transitioned throughout the foster care system. I later, of course, was able to access services through the community college and also recently graduated with my bachelor's, and I'm currently working on my master's degree. But of course, we must remember that it's our children's right to receive valuable educational support from foster youth services so that they're able, of course, to gain their own educational experience. It's important to align the definition of foster children in the foster youth services program to that of LCFF and to provide resources.
If you could just kind of wrap, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'm definitely finishing. LCFF and to provide more resources to the foster youth services program.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I think the committee very much agrees with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Manpreet Singh. I'm a student finishing up my psychology degree and also working with various organizations advocating for foster youth. I was also a ward of the court for 2 years. After seeing the poor outcomes of this population, not only through statistics but firsthand with my foster siblings and biological siblings, I knew it's apparent we have to make some changes. As of now, only 1/3 of all foster youth are even eligible to receive foster youth services through their county offices of education. That's devastating for a few reasons. Foster youth are consistently one of the lowest performing student populations. With only about 50% of the population graduating from high school, it's no surprise many of us, including my younger siblings, ended up incarcerated or homeless. We've already taken the first step to supporting these vulnerable youth. The LCFF definition of foster youth already encompasses all foster youth. Please don't let any more of us slip through the cracks. Do the right thing by aligning foster youth services program with LCFF and also expanding funding for foster youth.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Martinez. I'm representing the Foster Club with Orange County as well as the Orange County chapter of the California Youth Connection. I myself am a former foster youth from Los Angeles County. I received many services that a lot of my colleagues did not receive because people didn't know about them or our social workers didn't bother to do the work to ensure that we were all receiving the same amount. Because of the fact that I did receive all those services, I did graduate with high honors from high school, and I have gone on and I will be finishing my bachelor's degree with political science. Not everybody's able to do so. So I am encouraging that we do align all of our FYS services with our LCAP, with LCFF, so that way we ensure that all of our foster youth, regardless of whether they're in out-of-home placement or in kinship care, for instance, all of them receive the same exact benefits.
This is this whole definitional issue that we've been hearing about.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Right, okay. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Devine, and I am a student attending Cal State San Bernardino and graduating in June with a bachelor's in sociology. I was in foster care for 6 years. During college, I started working for the Independent Living Program Unit, which provides services and support for foster youth ages 16 through 18. It's ironic because I now provide services that I did not even know about while being a product in a system that I could have used them most. From a personal experience and a professional one, foster youth are alone, usually do not have a support system, and do not have anyone to help guide them. Without assistance, the chances of their educational goals are greatly diminished. The Foster Youth Services Program can play a crucial role in providing those supports. IOP and foster youth services complement each other and help in order for youth to have a successful transition out of the system, and more importantly, a better future for themselves. Increased funding for foster youth services will help implement LCFF for foster youth and help connect foster youth with services that already exist and that they need. Please align foster youth services with LCFF and increase resources for our youth. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Vlad Kochamdre, and I'm currently studying chemical engineering at Sac State. I was in foster care for 7 years in Sacramento County. High school was really a sanctuary away from home for me. My home situation with my foster parents was all but pleasant, and I would dread coming home. I grew up trying to navigate through high school all on my own. My social worker was so busy that on the rare occasions that she would visit, we would speak only briefly. There really wasn't anyone to help me navigate through high school and assist me to plan for a higher education. I sort of stumbled through high school into college blindly, not knowing the resources available to me. And I really do wish that I had an authority figure back then to just talk to about my education and my life at home. The one time I did try to reach out to a counselor, he simply didn't understand, and it only made me feel worse in the end. I'm one of the many who has faced this struggle, but as the statistics show, one of the few that has been fortunate enough to make it through it. And we just ask that the definition in LCFF of foster youth is aligned with foster youth services. We ask not for something to be started, but for something that's already been done to be finished. And the well-being and success of many foster youth depends on this, and I hope that my experience can be a testimony to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Allen, Jeff Frost, representing the California Association of School Psychologists, speaking on the issue of school climate, which was discussed earlier. Senator Hancock has a bill that we are a co-sponsor of, SB 643, I believe, which would implement the PBIS MTSS systems in areas where we have an inadequate number of trainers. It's basically a trainer of trainer program. It goes to the heart of what Mr. Lombardo discussed this morning. I believe she has sent a letter to the subcommittee urging that funding for this be placed in the budget. We are supportive of that effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marisol Moreno, and I work with Options for Learning, and we support SB 645. I want to share the ACES programs have been negatively impacted due to the lack of funding increase. It has become increasingly difficult to retain, attract, and recruit quality staff to our field as we are unable to offer competitive pay. We have had to reduce the number of enrichment activities offered to children as a result of the ACES funding formula of $7.50 per day per child staying the same since 2006, along with an increase of 17% rise in the cost of living since that happened in 2006. SB 645 will ensure programs the ability to deliver engaging and effective extended learning services to students with the highest needs and fewest resources. We support SB 645. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Rand Martin on behalf of the California After School Coalition. The subcommittee has before it a request from the coalition and others for a $54 million augmentation to the After School Education and Safety Program, which has not had an increase in funding since 2006. That proposal was submitted late February. I know it's not on your agenda, but we have a number of people from the after-school movement today to discuss it. The ACES program serves about 400,000 kids in elementary and middle school in 4,000 schools across the state. It is credited with providing incredible results in terms of academic achievement, enrichment opportunities, keeping kids off the street in times where crime is its highest from 3 to 6 in the afternoon, making sure that parents can continue their jobs while their kids are safely in a program in the afternoon. The program has not been increased in 9 years and is slowly but surely being squeezed out of existence by things that happen for good reasons, things like minimum wage increases, the sick leave policy that you all adopted last year that goes into effect in July, and just cost of living increase of 17% over the last 8 years. So we're asking an increase simply to cover the 2 minimum wage increases, the one that went into effect last July 1st and the one that's going into effect on January 1st, so that these programs do not get squeezed out of existence. They provide an enormous benefit to the community and to the families, and we think that it's critical that these programs be allowed to stay open.
Thank you, Rand. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Gurna. I'm the president and CEO of LA's Best After School Enrichment Program in Los Angeles. I'm also here to urge a budget increase in the ACES program. LA's Best serves over 25,000 kids every day from the time the school day ends until 6 o'clock. We operate in 195 Title I schools. These are schools in economically distressed neighborhoods. Title I schools with average over 90% free and reduced lunch eligibility and low academic achievement. Rand just went over a lot of the activities that we go through, so I won't repeat that. But what I will say is that the results are in on programs like this. Numerous evaluations have shown that we do get the results, including improved grades, scores, and attendance through to middle school, and that's for an elementary school program. And that's including several longitudinal studies conducted by UCLA. We need the raise from $750 per student per day to $850 per day due to several cost factors that are driving up the cost of providing a high-quality program. The 24-hour sick time is a major factor. That's over a $500,000 impact for LA's Best alone. We are also required to pay a share of LAUSD's increased employer pension costs, the anticipated minimum wage increases. Our city funding has been declining 10% a year for the past several years, and overall increased challenges for fundraising due to the economic climate. Even that $850 a day doesn't come close to actually paying for the program. According to a Wallace Foundation study, it actually is $21 a day. We at LA's Best provide over a 2/3 match for every dollar invested by the state. We're bringing in twice the statutory minimum match. Basically, you have a choice here. Are you satisfied with simply warehousing children from economically poor neighborhoods after school every day? Or do you want to fulfill on the promise of Prop 45 and invest in providing crucial academic support and expanding horizons for our most valuable resource, our children? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And if you could share some of that data with our office.
Be happy to.
Yeah.
I'm leaving a handout with
Okay,
that,
thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tyree Dillingham. I'm the executive director for After School All Stars in San Diego. I'm currently operating programs in 16 schools in San Diego County and 3 cities to some of our most underserved families in our community, including National City, City Heights, Skyline. While ACES legislation requires me to run programs for a minimum of 15 hours a week, most of my programs are actually running closer to 21 hours. With all the changes in state legislation, including minimum wage and healthcare costs, it's crippling our ability to provide high-quality programming to a maximum number of students without receiving an increase in funding. Since the inception of the legislation, the funding has been flat, and I'm being pulled at all directions. With more schools requesting services, more students and families in need, and fewer dollars to get it all done with, it's critical that you support increased funding and adopt a COLA to maintain the voters' commitment to high-quality after-school programs for the state's underserved communities. So I'm inviting you to support SB 645.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Gunderson. I'm with the Partnership for Children and Youth. We're based in Oakland, California, but provide technical assistance and advocacy on behalf of expanded learning programs across the state. And I'm also here to support the budget request to support the stagnant ACES daily rate from $7.50 to $8.50, which hasn't been increased for over a decade, which you heard. And we believe strongly that this $54 million request is a very small investment to maintain academic and enrichment services for almost 400,000 students every single day in the very lowest income communities across the state. We recently conducted a survey of over about 600 programs and found that 90% have been negatively impacted by these programs. So I have provided written materials regarding that survey, and this survey represented over 300 districts. So this is not just happening in urban areas, it's happening across the state. These programs are having to cut staff hours, reduce enrichment opportunities and services. The waiting lists for these programs are getting longer. And just to be clear that the schools with ACES grants on average have 80% of their students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. So we are talking about extreme concentrated poverty. And we really applaud the legislature through the local control funding formula to prioritize and target student groups, such as low-income students and English learners. And we think there's not a better investment around increased services and improved services for these target subgroups than by investing in the ACES program. So we strongly urge the Senate subcommittee to maintain these programs by investing $54 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kasasi Brooks, and I am with PolicyLink and the California Alliance for Boys and Men of Color. And the Alliance for Boys and Men of Color is a group of change agents throughout the state who advocate for the health and success of boys and men of color. And one of the ways we can do this is to really support SB 463, the Train the Trainers bill that one of our folks spoke about before. It's a really good program, and really want to urge this Senate budget committee to advocate that adequate funding be included in the budget this year for the Train the Trainers program, for restorative justice programs, positive behavior services, trauma practices, because investing in these kind of programs really return schools to healthy learning environments where our students of color and low-income students can really thrive. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Good afternoon. Michelle McKay Underwood on behalf of the Coalition for Adequate Funding for Special Education. Thank you very much for dedicating some of this morning's hearing to looking into the critical issues facing students with disabilities. It's great to see the issues highlighted from the Special Education Task Force, and we've built our state budget priorities around those recommendations. And in the interest of time, we've given you our priorities and want to highlight just the first two, our top two. We talked earlier today, about adequate and equitable funding for special education. It made sense for us to equalize up under the LCFF, and we think it makes sense to equalize the rates for special education students. And so equalization of AB 602 is our top priority. Our second priority is...
What do you mean by equalization? What does that mean?
So as we talked about before, there are different rates sort of based on those historical,
Okay.
right. So to bring everybody up makes sense, we think. And then our second top priority is for preschool. There are very few funds dedicated for preschool for special education students. We think it makes a lot of sense to invest early in preschool for these students to make it less costly down the line for the same students. So we appreciate your time again and focus, and look forward to hearing more.
Right, and RTI. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Allen. I'm Erin Evans, and I'd like to speak on two issues before you very briefly. First, the California Educational Technology Professionals Association supports at least a $100 million funding level for technology infrastructure. That's item 5. Secondly, in regards to the after-school education and safety program that you've heard some of my colleagues speak about, both the San Diego County Office of Education and the California Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs support this modest $54 million funding increase. As operators of many after-school programs, some of which are ACES funded, we've seen the increased costs that you've heard some of my colleagues refer to. These are added costs for employers, but result in benefits for the families we serve, and we support that. But ACES is a state-funded program with very rigorous standards, and the funding level just has not kept up over the past 9 years. So we ask that the committee supports a modest funding increase of $1 in the daily rate. for ACES, as well as a cost of living increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and we've provided, the Boys and Girls Clubs has provided additional written materials to the committees. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Senator Allen. My name is Steve Amick. I'm the policy director with Think Together. And Think Together is an expanded learning program provider. We operate 325 after-school education and safety programs across California, including 16 in Senator Morlock's district, 37th district. And I want to make sure that people understand that even before these increased personnel costs were hitting us through the increase of the minimum wage and benefits for part-time workers, we were already spending 85% of our budget on personnel costs just to maintain supervision staffing ratios at these programs. And so with the additional costs that we've incurred over the last 2 years, just to maintain the same program that we were running 2 years ago would be an additional 15% increase in our personnel costs, which we simply can't accommodate. So our full-time exempt staff, who for all intents and purposes were another administrator on school campuses who have an after-school program, they were cut back to hourly. Our part-time workers don't get the same professional development that they used to get. There's virtually no funding for supplies and materials for these programs at this point, and so the quality of these programs is necessarily decreasing as personnel costs rise, and that certainly was not the intent of the legislators who supported the minimum wage increases and the benefits for part-time workers. And so we're here again to advocate for the $54 million increase for after-school education safety.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon. I'm Randy Merton. I'm with the Fresno County Office of Education. My office serves 145 after-school programs currently. We serve almost 40,000 young people daily. And first of all, I want to say that California has made a substantial investment of $550 million in after school. And I want to thank you for that. And I also want to suggest or share with you one very simple return on your investment. I think those are important things that you need to hear. We disaggregated data on our student population being served in after school, 10,000 Latino males attending our after school program. We contrasted their regular day attendance with the 8,000 Latino males that from the same schools that do not attend after school. The after school attending young people Hispanic males were attending school a mean average of 17 more days per student. That's 170,000 additional days in Fresno County. We have the same data for African American students, and it happens because we've been able to hire amazing, great staff that we're going to have a very difficult time unless we're able to maintain an increased level of funding to compete with other natural things that are happening right now in the funding world. So we support the $54 million increase.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations on that. Thank you. Those successes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Seth Merton. I'm from the California Teaching Fellows Foundation. I'm also here to support the $54 million funding increase for after-school programs because it's absolutely critical to the success of our programs. Teaching Fellows serves roughly 40,000 students. It's many of the same students that Mr. Merton was just speaking about. That's across 4 counties. We serve students in Fresno, Madera, Merced, and Tulare. We have roughly 1,500 undergraduate pre-service teachers that we utilize to staff those programs with. Not surprisingly, quality programs is synonymous with quality staff members. These are part-time positions, and being able to offer even $1 more than minimum wage is highly critical to retain the best and brightest young people at the undergraduate level. We compete with companies like Starbucks and Target for staff members. So in that vein, I'm asking you to support the funding increase because it's critical to our programs. Thank you.
I wish we were competing with other folks as well. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Allen. Alice Kessler. I'm here representing the SELPA administrators of California. We're the 135 individual SELPAs throughout the state. In regards to item 1 on the Special Education Task Force report, we very much support the recommendations of the report. Many of our SELPA administrators were involved in that year-long effort. The recommendations that Ms. Plate put forward this morning were very much in support of, including equalization, which has been discussed. Also wanted to briefly touch on 2 items that are very important to us. One is the alternative dispute resolution funding. Right now, the state has a pilot program where 20 SELPAs receive a small amount of funding to run these programs, which help to avoid litigation and appeals costs down the line. We think that should be scaled up to all SELPAs in the state, and that would be a really great use of funds. Second, early childhood education, which has been mentioned. This committee has heard extensive testimony in previous hearings about expanding preschool, and that's something that will help everyone and let all boats rise. So we appreciate that as well, and look forward to working with the committee.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Senator I'm Brad Strong with Children Now. We're here on item number 3, school climate strategies. Really, we're here to specifically ask for an allocation for SB 463 Hancock that deals with train the trainers. You heard from Mike Labardo from the Placer County Office of Education, the school psychologist, Public Policy Link, Boys and Men of Color, Children Now as well. These strategies, you've heard the data about suspensions and expulsions. There's been a number of bills that have gone through, and probably the one reason we don't have disagreements about policy, people don't seem to be troubled by those bills that try to reduce suspensions and expulsions. They're troubled by the fact that there's no training. And so that's been the thing that the school administrators, school boards have been saying, we need additional training. We're working very hard with the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. They're doing wonderful work over there. We're revising the standards, the California teacher teacher performance expectations, totally realigning the credentialing programs to make sure that this is embedded within the programs for the preliminary credentials, but it's not addressing the in-school, in-class teachers that are working today. So we need this Train the Trainers program to bring them up. It is also aligned with the LCFF school climate priority. Yep. So it's really important.
Yep.
Thank
you, Brad. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Allen. My name is Orlando Fuentes, and I'm a social worker, a board member of Restorative Schools Vision Project, RSVP, a restorative justice agency, and I'm also an RJ practitioner in a local middle school. What I've seen the past year that I've been doing this part-time at this middle school is that there's a tremendous need for restorative justice. We go into the classrooms and do restorative circles, and we talk about social emotional topics that you don't typically get a chance to talk about. The teachers don't have time, the parents don't have time, and the students often just learn from each other. We talk about topics like empathy and compassion. We talk about bullying. We talk about rumors and fighting. And so we heighten their awareness in that area. What comes to our attention too, and what we provide services on, is restorative justice conferences. So when there is a fight or a potential fight, we'll bring in the two parties who are engaged in that. We'll bring in their support people, one on each side often, and we'll have the 4 kids in a restorative justice conference where we try to take a look at the problem, and we talk about the problem. The person is not the problem is the problem. So we put that up on a whiteboard, and then we look at who you are coming into, who you are in reality. What does your mom say about you? What does your dad say about you? And now let's take a look at how we can resolve this conflict. And we say, well, we'll stop name calling, we'll stop threatening, we'll stop looking at each other the wrong way. And often, one of the peak moments that I've experienced is when there's a mutual apology, literally spoken simultaneously. I'm sorry. Well, me too. I'm sorry. And that's why I do social work, because of those peak moments. Some of the barriers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim Flores on behalf of AspiraNet, also in support of the modest budget increase that would help support our after-school programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Kim Lewis representing the Corporation for Education Network Initiative, CNIC, speaking on item 5, the technology item on the agenda. We've been working very closely with K-12 HSN and CDE on ensuring that the schools that are getting funding through the BIAG project have been successful. We manage the largest E-rate consortium in the nation and been 100% successful in all our applications. And so that's something we're doing with all of these grants so that the ongoing monthly cost for schools locally can be affordable for them by taking advantage of federal E-rate and CTF on the school sites and their connectivity actions. Also, would just say that the schools that are getting connected through BIG are actually moving from some of the least connected schools to some of the most connected schools, which is huge. And we're getting them up to 1 gigabit service at that site. And we still have more schools that need to come up to that level and kind of meet some of the President Obama's initiatives on, moving schools to 1 gigabit service and more. So thank you for hearing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Jake Ferrara, and on behalf of Fight Crime Investing Kids, representing more than 400 law enforcement leaders, and Mission Readiness Military Leaders for Kids, representing more than 40 retired admirals and generals across the state, we appreciate the subcommittee taking a look at school climate, item number 3. School climate and school discipline are important because they impact student achievement and graduation rates. We encourage the committee to provide funding for training to promote positive alternatives to suspension. And I think you received the letter signed by more than 100 police chiefs, sheriffs, district attorneys, and crime victims in support of this budget request. On a separate note, I'd like to echo the sentiments made by Mr. Martin, Ms. Gunderson, and many others. We believe there is an important opportunity to increase public safety and strengthen national security through supporting increased access for resources for expanded learning programs across California. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your work.
Chris Lev Twombly, Executive Director for the California State Alliance of YMCAs, here to voice our support briefly for the $54 million increase for the ACES program. We're one of the largest ACES providers in California. 19 of our 33 nonprofit YMCA associations run ACES programs. About 375 sites, roughly 30,000 plus students served each day. We run the program as part of our charitable mission, and for the last 10 years, it's really come to define who we are as the YMCA in California. As my colleagues have stated, rising costs have continued to challenge our ability to run these programs as part of our charitable mission. So we support an increase and encourage you to do so as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. And I just want to obviously not only thank you for your wonderful comments, but also I think the comments reflect some extraordinary work happening all over the state on behalf of young people, particularly those kids most in need. So thank you for coming, sharing your thoughts, and we're going to get back together next week for more hearings, but we really do appreciate everyone's input. Thank you. Thank you.